Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We are so very pleased to have you with us today. And do we ever have a special surprise? You may notice unfamiliar background here, and that is because I'm in someone else's kitchen, and I'll introduce you to that person in just a moment. Jim and I have fall break. We decided to come up to the northern part of the state because a certain someone and I need to work on our book this weekend. So come on in. So
Hello.
here's Cindy again.
Hello again. Happy to be here.
And we just had such a great time on our first video. And so many of you have asked more about Cindy's bread. First of all, did you notice that we're wearing twin aprons? These were made by Cindy's daughter, Natalie.
Just for us.
Yes, and so we're happy to be wearing aprons. Today, Cindy is going to take you through her bread recipe, and even though we're on grid today, her husband John is going to show us how he bakes one of the loaves of bread totally off grid. So we will get started on all of this in just a moment. I'm going to disappear from the scene. When you come back, it's just going to be Cindy only, and she's going to talk a little bit about how she works her food storage into her bread baking. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome. So happy to share my bread recipe with you that I have used for more than 40 years in my home. Raising a family of 8, we made bread twice a week. And so those were the ingredients that we had on hand to supply our family with bread for a year. With 2 of us in the household, I will cut way back on that, but I wanted to share my ingredients with you. And Pam did post the recipe under the video that we did together on getting started with food storage. This is how I keep things handy from what is in my storage. Brown sugar, regular sugar, yeast from the freezer I keep in a quart jar in the fridge and use as I need it. Powdered milk in another canister in my pantry. And this flour is a bread flour, but also from our food grinder we have some freshly ground white winter wheat. So I'm using that for bread when traditionally I've used hard red winter wheat, and just salt. And the measuring utensils that I use that are not fancy, I do not weigh things, I use cups and tablespoons and teaspoons. And so I want to show you the pantry where I keep these things behind doors and pull them out for baking. So in my pantry is my food, outlined in different containers for ready use. And when my small containers, we have a hole here for brown sugar and powdered milk because I'm making bread, and they are over on the counter. Down low on the floor are the white buckets that my husband refills from our 25 and 50 pound bags of sugar and flour to keep me in supply for when a baking urge hits. So let's go over to the corner and mix bread up. So in this corner is my baking center where everything is pulled out and I assemble. I have measured into this bowl the ingredients for the first part of my recipe. Into the inside of my cupboard is my tried and true bread recipe. So in the bowl I have the first ingredients that we have for my bread: the white flour, the yeast, sugar, salt, powdered milk, dry, and brown sugar. In this pan I have the water that I've heated to melt the butter and warm up the shortening, and then I just added my 1.5 cups of cold water, checking the temperature to make sure it's not too hot so it will not kill the yeast. And so we're going to start mixing this first part of the bread. So this has mixed at medium speed for 2 minutes, and I might add that at this stage in my bread making, sometimes I will add cooked cereal left over from the day before, cooked oatmeal or a cooked cracked wheat or a cooked 7-grain. And so I'll add a cup or so of that cooked reconstituted cereal and count it as a cup of flour. This is now the time to add 2 cups of the wheat flour. And I've already measured this, so don't pay attention. This is just adding, but this is already pre-measured. So that's the 2 cups of wheat flour. Adding more white flour as the recipe calls, and this is already measured. I'm using a total of about 9 cups of flour. I have used up to 10. Today will be about 5 cups of white flour and 4 cups of freshly ground whole wheat flour. Then I will switch out and use my dough hook, and we will knead the dough for about 10 minutes. After we let this knead for about 10 minutes, we'll pull it out on the counter and I'll show you what it looks like and tell you how it feels before we let it rise the first time. So 10 minutes and we'll be back. The 10 minutes, the dough has been kneading for 10 minutes. Please understand your manufacturer's limits on how many cups of flour your mixer can handle. This mixer can handle more than 11, and so I am safe for kneading my bread at low speed here for 10 minutes. This is what the bread looks like. Quite sticky. We're going to play with it for a minute. My sticky hands on everything. And some of my fresh ground wheat flour just to give us a surface for playing with the dough. It needs a little more flour in it. And if you do not have a mixer that kneads the bread, as mine has done, you can always knead it by hand, and there are so many different methods of kneading. You can see how sticky mine is. But this is the method that I have always used, the turn it a quarter and push down with the heels of your hand. I used to play basketball with young mothers, and they thought I could throw the ball quite a ways, and it's because of my bread kneading muscles in those days. But we want smooth and elastic here. And then we will put it in the bowl, a greased bowl that I've prepared, and let it rise for about an hour. My oven has a proofing setting, and I will put it into proof in my oven, greasing the top so it doesn't stick to the cloth or plastic. So we will cover this and set it in the oven to double in size, and we will come back. Welcome back. The bread has been proofing in the oven for an hour. It has doubled in size, so we are going to take the bread over to the counter and shape it into the loaves for the second rising. So come with me this way. Here's what our bread looks like. And I'm a little bit unscientific in my method, and I just kind of eyeball it here and make it into 3 loaves, about as even as I can get them. Sometimes I will weigh them. That's going to be the smaller one. And I have prepared 3 loaf pans greased with solid shortening. And this is how I shape my loaves. And there are many ways to do loaves, but to get the bubbles out, I just roll it out. Seal the bottom, tuck the sides in, seal them. And we will let the bread, I'll do that 3 times, and we'll let the bread then rise until it's doubled in size before we bake and sample it. The bread has risen. It is ready to go in the oven. The ovens are up to temperature. We are going to bake a loaf in each of my ovens. They bake a little differently, so this is an experiment in ovens and bread baking, and John's baking one outside in the Dutch oven. So we will let the bread bake and we will be back in about 30 minutes to see the finished product.
An off-grid situation, you can always bake bread in a Dutch oven. This is a standard 12-inch Lodge Dutch oven. I'm going to put the loaf of bread in the oven, and right now, according to Lodge, we have 18 briquettes up top, 9 on the bottom, creating a 375-degree oven into which the bread will bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. So let me go ahead and pull that off, put the loaf in, close that baby up quickly, and we are off, and we'll be back in 25 or 30 minutes to see how it turns out.
The smell in the kitchen is wonderful. Nothing better than fresh, hot baked bread. And here is the last loaf coming out of the oven. And of course, you take bread out of the pan immediately so it doesn't sweat. And we'll check the bake on it. Woohoo!
Oh, that looks.
Ta-da! And we'll go to John's bread baked in the Dutch oven outside, but we're going to have to taste these.
Wow.
Okay, the bread's been in the Dutch oven for about 30 minutes. Let's take a look and see if it's done. It's always a question when you're in a Dutch oven. We'll just set the lid over this. Oh, it looks beautiful. Looks beautiful, beautiful. Oh yeah, let's get it out of there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, beautiful. Just using charcoal briquettes in a 12-inch Dutch oven, and we have a beautiful loaf of bread. We'll go inside now and let it cool down, and then we'll cut it and try it out.
Here we are, the final product. We need to look at it and taste it, and it's the best part of the whole thing and makes it worth it. Let's see what it looks like. It has cooled down just a little bit. And do members of your family like the crust, the end piece, the heel, or do they like the center pieces? Well, we are going to have a taste here and let everybody know what they want to try. But I think we did all right.
Beautiful crumb.
We have butter and jam and honey, and we think it's a success. Thank you all.
What are we doing? Holding the one
Okay.
like
Yeah.
this?
So who got the heel?
You
think
did.
you did.
Did you
Oh,
want
I
it?
did. Yay, I won.
I thought you wanted
won.
the heel.
I love the heel. Yes, thank you. Okay.
So what are we
Okay.
doing?
And this is some, oh, you got half and half?
I did half and half.
Ooh.
Honey,
Okay.
and,
Honey.
honey and jam.
Okay.
Oh, oh, good, good, delicious bread.
Still very warm.
It's wonderful.
That's a great
Worked out
bake.
all right.
Some of your homemade raspberry jam. This is great.
The honey's really good too.
There's nothing like homemade bread.
Total success. We won't have to eat dinner tonight.
No,
please
we don't
no.
need dinner.
This is wonderful.
Really,
Okay, let's go see
I'm
the
so pleased.